buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries laugh to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slide, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See the shit, force of air. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Okay, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Game On, and this is UCY TV rapidly running up the charts to be the best online news network going. I've been on several networks over the years, and I got to say, I think I found my home. And I really do appreciate the folks here at UCY TV. And Jules is, working her tail off to make sure this is successful for the people that are looking for real information and clear the nonsense out and just get to the brass tacks that's required. Anyways, quick announcement starting this coming Tuesday, I guess. I haven't got my banner reconfigured yet. I'll get that done today. But starting on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I will be doing a show from 7 to 8 p.m., 1 hour show, and then we'll keep the show on Sundays, a 2 hour show. And I'm going to do my last show next Saturday night on Revolution Radio and concentrate over here on UCY. I got a really nice compliment from somebody from California last night, Santa Cruz, who listened to the show over in Revolution, and really appreciate what they had to say. And but they too had the same problem I've been having. And I don't want to, Revolution Radio has been basically good to me, but compared to UCY.TV, there's no comparison. The archives are up faster. It's over to YouTube quick. The chat is a dedicated chat, and it's not running two A/B shows through one chat, as the person from Santa Cruz said last night. Good show, but how the hell do you? I mean, the chat is a disaster, and I've heard that complaint way too often. So I just want to say that this is hopefully my home for a long, long time. Anyways. Today is August the 2nd, and we have an election underway here in Canada. I guess the Prime Minister, the boy who works for the Queen Crown Pope, has asked the Governor General to shut Parliament down for the election. So what he's really asking the Governor General is the Queen, and he's a guy. Yeah, I know David Johnson, he's a guy, but he's still the Queen as far as Canada's concerned. So the election's been called, I guess, some hour of this morning, and we're in election mode now. So that could get interesting. I had some people last night wanting me to talk about TPP, and I didn't really see the point in it. It really doesn't matter. It's like when people want me to talk about Bill C-51, it really doesn't matter once you understand the game. And they are going to... I read a small piece last night on air, and all it appears they're doing is they've delayed the TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership, until these elections are over. Okay, they're putting their ducks in a row now. So we have our election going on here now, and then we have the American election going on. They want to get their people in place and make sure they're on board for the final assault on freedom on the planet. So if I saw some reports, people were feeling relieved that the TPP was delayed or not passed. Do not get, don't get happy about it. Okay, it was delayed for a reason. Like I said, they want to make sure they got their people in place. They have, we have a meeting in Paris coming up in September, where the pressure's on these guys to sign on to a definite climate change formula designed to hurt all of the people on the planet and further enrich and give more power to these clowns that are playing God. And so I'm just going to here for a bit. I didn't get to bed till after 3 last night, so I'm a little bit tired today. But that's not your problem. That's my problem. So if someone has something they wish to discuss, I'm gonna go through some stuff today. Some of it may be a bit of a repeat from last night because it's important. But there is a phone number here. It's 1-718-717-8296, and I do believe that the phones are operating today. Hopefully they are. So if you have something that you wish to discuss, by all means, pick up the phone. It's 1-718-717-8296. Be glad to hear from you. Anyways, I'm going to run through this a little bit. I've done so much research over the last decades that, and this is stuff, not just I, but an awful lot of people were warning is coming. And a lot of people, it's, oh, no, that'll never happen. We're the best country in the world. All the stuff people were warning about years and years and years ago is so in our face now, it's ridiculous. So while I still do an awful lot of research, these news articles are almost so ludicrous now that they're fun to... And I haven't looked at newspapers much in years, but now it's getting so over the top, it's actually fun to go through some of these things because they're convinced somehow that everybody's lost their minds and that nobody has any ability to think anymore. They can just plaster whatever they want on a chunk of paper and people read it and go, well, I don't agree with that, or I do agree with that, but that's about the end of it. It's the same old thing. It's called current affairs, which is affairs meaning business. This is the business of the corporation of this time, and they just spew it out on the paper, and people read this stuff, and for some reason, a lot of people still believe that the newspapers and the media in general actually have some kind of a requirement to give you some kind of truth. It's never been that way. Newspapers have always been propaganda, and so has any other form of media been propaganda, except for a few places online, and they're few, and they're far between, and it's up to people to find out and work their way through to make sure that they are not being hoodwinked with online stuff, because there's an awful pile of that going on as well. Anyway, so just really quickly here, Stephen Harper asked Governor General to dissolve Parliament and kick off a long federal election campaign. And Prime Minister Stephen Harper says he has asked the Governor General, David Johnston, who may or may not wear high heels when he's not in public. I don't know, because it's a pretty strange bunch. Touching off an 11-week campaign in advance of an election October 19th. Now, I phoned Elections Canada about a week ago asking what I had to do to run in a federal election. I did run for mayor once, and I did run in the Ontario provincial election in 2007, and that was a bit of a hoot. And it really showed me how bad this is. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, when the NDP guy said he wanted to shake my hand at the end of the all candidates meetings, and he had been in the Bob Rae government, and asked him why he wanted to shake my hand, and this is true. He said, I want to shake your hand because do you realize if you hadn't entered this election, not one issue of any importance would have ever seen the light of day? And you had us dancing from the get-go because you just brought this up and slammed it on the table. And man, you made it tough on us. And so this is what elections are all about. It's about sound bites. It's about nonsensical stuff that doesn't matter. Okay, it may be about better baby bonus checks this time. It might be, I'm sure there'll be a lot of environmental stuff in this. Everybody hates Harper because he's anti-environment, he's pro-oil sands, and yada yada yada. But it was Stephen Harper who handpicked. That's one of his jobs. Handpicked who he wanted for the new lieutenant governor in Ontario, who is in fact the sitting queen of the corporation. And who did he pick? He picked Elizabeth Dowdeswell, who came from the UN, who was involved with who's involved with all the vaccines your children and your elderly are being hammered with. She was, it was UNEP, United Nations Environmental Program, which comes out of Kenya, which Maurice Strong started. And Maurice Strong is about as slippery an eel as you'll ever find, who believes in capitalism for him and his friends, i.e. the Rockefellers and all those boys, the queens, the kings, and the bankers and the lawyers and all those guys. He believes in capitalism for his friends who live in very large mansions and multiple mansions, who own huge boats and lots of planes. And this is a guy that is in charge of telling the rest of us that we have to give up our water rights and our food rights and our health rights in order to make the world environmentally sound. It never had anything to do with environment. There's just a mechanism used to bring about world government. So, Stephen Harper, who everybody's jumping on, it wasn't so sad, it would be comical. Everybody's jumping on Harper because, he's the worst prime minister we ever had. We never had a good prime minister because all prime ministers take an oath of allegiance to the Queen, which is the crown, which is hooked to the Vatican, which is a corporation. So to say that Harper is the worst politician we've ever had doesn't make any sense. We never had a good politician because we've never had a politician on these lands that ever represented the people. They only represent the corporation. And they do the bidding of the corporation. So if the corporation's buddies need oil over in China, which they do to run the factories they took from us and got the slave labor, as Maurice Strong said, nobody can compete with us because we have the cheapest labor on the planet. The same guy is in China who tells you have to shut down all your coal plants, which we have done here. Meanwhile, China, from that point on, built 500 coal plants, and coal and oil is being shipped to China to run these slave factories. So to think that the UN or any of their minions or any of your politicians are pro-environment, either they don't get it or they do get it, but either way, They are here to do the bidding of the corporation and not you. So all of you people that are running around going, oh, you know, the NDP are real environmentally friendly. No, they're not. The NDP are members of the Socialist International. Now, Morris Strong says he believes in capitalism for him and his friends and socialism for everyone else. That means you living in a box beside a rail line with no access to the rural lands, with your water greatly restricted and your food restricted, lots of vaccines, and all that kind of stuff. So the NDP are not your friends, nor are the conservatives, nor are the liberals. Okay, go take a look at the Privy Council. Okay, that's the ticket. Go look at the Privy Council. When these people are elected, they take an allegiance to the crown, the queen, the pope, the corporation. That's who they work for. Now, the cabinet, when elected, ends up in the Privy Council, and they advise the queen. Okay? They don't really advise the queen. What's happening is that the corporation, the queen, the pope, the lawyers, the bankers advise those in government what they want done, what laws they want passed to strengthen their position, not your position, their position, to gain further control over your lives and over your resources. So, you know, we saw the world's upside down. And it's exactly upside down because everything you think is going on, the opposite is going on. So anyways, these guys end up in the Privy Council. Now, they take an oath of secrecy. Once you hit the Privy Council, you're there for life. That means it's a gag order. It's a life gag order. So these people you're voting for are willing to not represent you because they know when they take the oath they can't represent you. Then they turn around and take a lifetime gag order of secrecy to the Queen, Crown / corporation, Pope, whatever. So this idea that we're in an election is a bit of a misnomer. While there is an election going on, all you're doing is you're picking the board members. The CEO would be the prime minister, and the cabinet is the board of who's going to run the corporation for the next 4 years. Okay, all of the people you vote for anywhere else, anybody who doesn't hit cabinet is basically of no use to anybody whatsoever. Okay, the cabinet is the ones that bring down the bills and the laws, the so-called laws. Into the House, okay. The rest of those elected really don't have a say in squat. They get to vote on stuff, but they got to toe the party line. So it's not about democracy. It's not about entrenching your rights. You don't have any rights. Okay, all you got to do is look at a protest sometime. Okay, I have a caller here. I'm not sure who it is, but we'll bring him in and see what they have to say. Have I got your caller?
Yes, you do.
Good for me. I did something right. How are you? And who are you?
Not too bad. Well, this is actually my first call into a radio program of this nature. So hopefully, I've obviously got through to you, so that's a good
that's
step
a good
here.
sign. Yeah, that's a good sign.
Yeah, but you know what? Who am I? I like to say I'm just an average Joe who has awakened to like you said, the reality of the situation. So.
Okay, but whereabouts are you calling from?
Yeah, I am calling at the very moment. I'm calling from a hotel room in Manitoba, but I do normally reside in this is South Bruce Peninsula, just not too far from yourself. So,
okay, I think I know basically who I'm talking to. Why don't we just call you Sam? How's that?
Sure. How about Mac? Let's go with Mac.
Mac or
Yeah.
Max?
Mac.
Mac. Okay, Mac's a good name
Yeah.
too. So yeah, I think we discussed a couple of things on Facebook or something at the time.
Yeah.
I and I do want to hear your story. So you are basically in a contracting business, of which I was for years and years and years, and I kind of got out of it when they started slamming at us too hard. And I notice now that some of the contractors, thankfully, it took a long time. I always look at the contractors. You guys are supposed to be the tough guys. You're the men, right? And you got these wussy little pencil necks coming around telling you what you can and can't do all the time. I was a little disheartened by what they put up with to date.
Yeah. It's gotten to the point where there's no longer trust factor involved in the day-to-day dealings between contractors and the so-called building officials and governing bodies like the safety boards and whatnot. It's come down to this concept of who's assuming liability, and even that to a large extent is reached a level of illusion as well, because the building departments try to tell us contractors that, well, we're here to assume liability for the general public, so we need to follow a certain degree of checks and balances here. So we got to just make sure that you're doing, you're following the right steps, and and these are safety issues and whatnot. And that argument, to the average person sounds fair.
It sounds perfectly logical, doesn't it?
It really does. But at what point does why does the trust factor have to disappear, and how far are we going to take this whole concept of liability? And ultimately, like I said, it's a false stance of liability, because they really don't ever assume liability.
No.
If anybody's assuming liability, it's let's start with the general contractor who contracts with the customer and says, I agree to stand up, uphold my end of the bargain here. And if something should happen after my job's complete, here's my warranty, or let's shake on it, let's have an agreement. So it starts there. If you got subcontractors involved, well, if the roofer made a mistake, well, you go to the general contractor and he calls the roofer and says, dude, you kind of, you messed up a bit, can we fix this? And so the building officials come in and say, no, we're assuming liability for everything here, so you got to follow our rules. And ultimately, they never do assume liability.
Well, no, it's all it is about sticking the hand in the pocket, right? They're just using the contract as a funding source. That's all. But it gets worse than that, because what they've got this set up as what they're trying to do is you can go back to Morris Strong, right? Him and his friends. But what we're setting up here is basically they're weeding out the independents. So there'd be a few huge contractors that will control everything. They get away with bloody murder. But there's a small guy they're jamming on, right? Like when they used to come, when the safety guys used to come to my job site, right? I never wore work boots, very seldom.
Sure.
I felt better in my sneakers. I get the odd nail in my foot, but I always had somebody in the job just to grab a claw hammer and pull it out. No big deal. It heals.
Yeah.
It's just a small hole, right? And so I would get the safety inspectors saying, you don't have a hard hat on, you don't have work boots on, and I said, well, you're the safety inspector, right? Yeah. Okay, but who's in charge of safety on this site? Me.
Yeah.
Okay, it's my site. It's for me to determine what's safe and what's not you. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
You have no right to come in here and tell me what I have to do to be safe. I know what I have to do to be safe.
Yeah.
And if I feel safer running trusses in my sneakers because I got better grip, I'm not likely to catch a tow and fling myself off the building. And I don't need a hard hat running around in the trusses because that puts my head higher than it's supposed to be. I know where the top of my head is. If I crack it, that's my fault. I'm not asking for anybody to help me out on it. So I managed never to have a job shut down by a safety inspector. I use logic against them, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we got to start doing. But interestingly, I had a problem here in this house that I'm in because they really hate my guts, eh? And they wanted a minor variance after I had the building, after I had the permit and that. And it went on for 3 months, and I finally ended up sitting in front of the CAO, and they were so frustrated because I'd put up websites and everything, and I finally to see him, and he said, "What do you want?" Right? I said, "I don't want any building inspectors around me."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Well, you know what you're doing." Of course I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then you don't need building inspectors. Well, wait a minute. Hold the phone here. You know what you just said, okay? That I'm competent and I don't need building inspectors. But what you've said is your building inspectors are incompetent, okay? Yeah. And if I don't need a building inspector, nobody needs a building inspector, right?
That's right.
And I haven't seen a building inspector since. And I've had people run inspectors off their own, like private people doing renovations on their own homes who are just being driven nuts by these building inspectors. And I had one lady, she said that she read my blog, and these inspectors that come out, you know what they're like, eh? One inspector comes out and says, we want it done this way, you do it. Another one comes out and says, well, no, we changed our mind, we want it done this way. So it's caused people all kinds of time, money, and just a pain in the ass. And this lady who was in her mid-50s, who had never said boo in her life, said, I read your blog or your website, and the inspector came out, and she said, I still have a hard time believing I did it, but I walked out in the yard, and I said, is that your truck? And he goes, yeah. You got 5 minutes to get off my land, or you're going to have 4 flat tires and they're driving you back to town. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
And I said, how'd that work out? She said, I've never seen a building inspector since.
Yeah. Good for her.
So we have people now who, I don't know if it's happened to you guys or not, but I know several guys around here it's happened to. They go out to their truck or their trailer to have a smoke, and some pencil neck shows up and hands them a ticket. And, I say to the guys, I said, guys, when are you going to stand up to this crap? Right?
Yeah.
Like, shove off.
Yeah.
And that's what really needs to be done. If all the contractors just said, you know what? Piss off. You would find that this would rectify itself rather quickly. But as long as people keep bowing down to it, and it's all about that sense of fear, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's breaking through that wall of fear that I mean, it's there. It's always there. It's basically a defense mechanism for everybody. If you lose the fear completely, then things get out of hand as well. So, but you got to push through it and use it in your favor. And like you said, you find out that the outcome often works in your favor. I had a safety guy come to my site a couple months ago. Again, I'm sort of the acting general contractor in a sense, and he claimed somebody called in that the excavator didn't have this and that, didn't have a high visibility vest and whatnot, and right away, can I get your name? Can I get this and that? I want your information because we got to fill out a compliance form. We got to put you through the system. And, I just refused to give him my name. I said, why would I give you my name? You come on the site here. You now threaten me. Now you're assuming that I have liability for everybody that's here. I said, I guarantee you, there's nobody here that wants you here, or that needs your help, from the owner of the building to the last guy that's going to paint a piece of trim on the floor. Like, nobody wants you here, and so with all due respect, we can get by just fine. So and ultimately after confronting the guy, it turns out he hates his job. he can't stand government. But it turns out he's a farmer, and second generation farm in the family. He's got 100 acres, but he can't afford to feed his family because corporate farming has taken over, and a man can't survive on 100 acres of land anymore.
Well,
And
this
so,
is what they've done is they're pushing all independents out, right?
Yeah.
And that includes in the contracting business. And the guys need to, I read a story by a guy up in Owen Sound, or no, I didn't read it. Somebody told me about it. And he'd come from, I don't know where he came from, Germany or somewhere, and studied to be a stonemason and that. And apparently he loved his job. He loved what he was doing. And he's packed it up because he said he can't make a living. He said that everybody's got their hand in his pocket, and they're always coming up with new paperwork that he can't do this and he can't do that. And it just got to the point where he said, there's no point in me doing this. First of all, I'm not enjoying it anymore. You've taken the enjoyment out of what I enjoy doing away from me. And he quit, when they come.
Common story.
Yeah. It's happening all across the country. And, if we lose our independent contractors, we're in trouble, man. Independent contractors can generally do the job better, faster, and for less than these great big outfits because they have less overhead. And so you, the consumer, need to get on side as well because, you lose the independence, the cost for you to do anything is going to go right through the ceiling. Because competition's gone, right?
Yes.
So, but it was, I got your note, and I thought, hot damn, because in your note it had something in there about somebody going to the council just about had it, right? And I have a friend, Kathy, down in Farmer, Ontario, who's been going to the council meetings for years. And the last one she was at, she said, I never thought I'd see this, right? The council chamber was basically full. There was a contractor in there with his helper that was just screaming bloody murder, right?
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah. And there was some farmers in there screaming bloody murder, right? Because you're out working, they're writing paperwork and rules and regulations to screw you over. You don't know about it till some pencil neck comes up with some paperwork and says you can't do this. Or you have to get a new... or you have to comply with something else, which is going to cost you X amount of money, or you have to take a test. I mean, I put tons of torch down on, and we were redoing some decks on some condo building, and so we had to put floaters. We had to put new rubber roofing down, and then put floaters and put the decks over it. And so I was up in Owen Sound. I went up to Smith Pete there to get the rubber roof. And I said, while you're at it, throw me on a couple of rolls of torch down, will you? And he says, because one of my houses here has a low slope roof on the back, I want to redo it. And he says, well, you have your ticket or your license or something. I go, what are you talking about? He says, well, I can't sell it to you. What the hell are you talking about? I put tons of this stuff down. I used to do a ton of insurance work with this stuff. Well, but they changed the rules. Now you have to go and take a course and then pay a fee before I can sell you this stuff. Yeah. That's how ridiculous it's getting.
Yes. There's been a complete breakdown between everyday reality, how the world functions on a day-to-day basis. What it takes for a contractor or to get on with business and make sure the projects are move along.
It used to be like this, Mac. It used to work like this, right? You call me, I come to your home. What are we going to do? You want an addition? You want a garage? You want new windows, kitchen, whatever it is you're looking for, right? We sit down, the two of us or the three of us, whatever, we sit down, we hack it out, we figure out what you're doing, price it out, we come to an agreement, and we do the work. That's how it used to be. We were framing houses down in Kitchener a long time ago, or Waterloo somewhere, a long time ago. It was slow up here, so I went down there, And we had the house framed up, and we're gonna go roof it. And the building inspector come along and informed me that before we put the windows in, we have to put 6 mil poly around the rough openings and 3 feet up the roof. And I go, out of your freaking mind? Are you nuts? You can't be freaking putting plastic around the rough openings or on the roof. Okay?
Yeah.
That's going to sweat and hold the moisture, and it's going to rot like a dog, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I don't care. That's what the building department said. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
That's just more proof that building inspectors don't have a clue, and I ain't doing it.
Yeah, and again, I have a contract, or just an informal agreement. I don't like the word contract because I think contract is a bad thing. But I mean, ultimately, I mean, just an agreement is by definition a contract, I guess. So, but you have an agreement with another human being that I'm going to,
not a human being either, Mac. Don't even go there.
Oh, yeah, right. Sorry, yeah.
Right.
No, I
You're a man, and your client is a man or a woman, but the whole human being thing's what got us into this.
Absolutely correct. I have an agreement with a live person, a live man. I can't use the word person. It's not funny. Hey, it's all in the language. Right?
Men and women. That's all we are. Men and women. All the rest is junk.
Yeah. You're either a man or you're a man with a womb. So you're a womb man. I mean, it really is all in the language. Yeah. And that's it's in the psychology and the language, and this is where legality is not reality. Right. And we have a system where we have been led to believe that in terms of the language, when we read a legal document, the average person will look at that document and use the vocabulary that they've been taught from Webster's dictionary. Right. And those of us who have caught on to the system realize that they have their own definitions and terminologies and their own dictionary, the proverbial Black's Law dictionary, and its many manifestations. And this is the kind of knowledge that if we could all just sort of catch on to some of the basics here, you have to understand the level of deceit is so deep, and once people can accept that, then they can begin to accept that the level of entrapment that's going on, and how confused and I was listening to one of your earlier programs. You had mentioned that it was things are, or your intro here today, that things are completely backwards, and that is the ultimate reality here, is that we exist with a complete dichotomy.
Reality. Yeah. When they come up with, I'm not religious, but I do believe in a creator of some sort, because I can't go with this monkey business.
That's right.
So that's my option, but the whole idea is that it said let no man deceive you. We allowed ourselves to be deceived. And this is where we find ourselves now. So we have to throw off the deception and get back to reality. And it's not that big a deal. It really isn't that big a deal. There's nothing worried about or frightened of. It's just what it is, right? So if you continue to be deceived, then you are accepting the deception, and then you really don't have any argument to say you can't do this to me because you've already accepted it. So, until we get back to man and woman, we are humans, and humans are animals, and man has dominion, and they made us the animals, so obviously they have dominion over us. So they brought in the legal system to replace the law system, and we just got to clear this mess out and get back to, and you know how much happier everybody will be? It'll be amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
But back to that stupid building down there, those houses in Kitchener, Waterloo. I tell the guy, I said, I'm not doing it. Well, it says you have to do it. I don't have to do jack squat, and I refuse to do this, because if I do this, I'm going to destroy this. Whoever buys this house is going to run into all kinds of trouble. Yeah. Okay? And he's paying a mortgage on this, which he shouldn't be paying on anyways, and but his life's going to be garbage. So Years later, some years later, I was talking to a buddy of mine who was a roofing contractor and that, and he said, "You remember you were talking about that plastic shit on them roofs and that?"
Yeah.
And I went, "Yeah." And he says, "It's a disaster.
Yeah.
Everything's rotten." Well, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, that's why I try to use logic with these pencil necks,
Yeah.
right? Like, do you know
Yeah.
what will happen if I do this? No. But you're telling me I must do it. Well, that's what the paper says.
Unfortunately, that's the great divide, right? We have logic and reason on one side, and I don't know what you want to call on the other side.
Not real bright people.
Yeah. I mentioned to you that I'm here. I am in Manitoba. I actually, just to give you a bit of a background, I actually built. I decided years ago that the conventional way of building was just wasn't the way to go, and came across a concept called monolithic dome construction.
Okay.
So I actually built monolithic domes. So I've been asked to come out here to Manitoba, build one of these dome structures for a very nice family and farm country. And I'm actually working under a general contractor, which I've never done before. I normally deal directly with the customer. But we had I was called into a meeting with the building inspector. I got them their engineer structure, so I got them the structural engineering about over 80 days ago now. And of course, I came out here under the impression that permit was well underway, and we'll go ahead and do our thing. I mean, it's an engineer structure. What does the building inspector got to say? Like, let's just go and get this thing going on. So I was expecting a 20-minute meeting with the building inspector. It turned into 2.5 hours. He showed up with 6 pages of questions, comments, just a list of hoops, really, details and notes he wanted amended, and I mean, right down to the, how you're going to caulk your mechanical penetrations, and who's signing off on that,
Yeah.
And I had to, of course, 10 minutes in, I had to stop everybody and say, like, you guys are asking me. I'm the dome builder here, so I'm just a glorified framer, but I just happen to build a round structure. I presented engineered drawings. You're asking me questions that logic and reason should prevail. You shouldn't be asking me these kind of questions, because just use your common sense. And the room went quiet, and it was like, it was dead silence, man. It was like, what do you mean common sense? We're not here to exercise common sense. We want somebody to assume responsibility for absolutely every single detail of this project. And who's going to assume responsibility? and we want that to be your engineer. And that's where we're at, is that everybody's afraid to say, you know what? And I'm here saying, well, I'll assume responsibility.
Now, you take your dome that you're building. You don't have a website by any chance, do you?
Yeah.
I'm thinking some of the people listening and some of the people in the chat would be really interested in looking at what you're building, including myself.
Yeah. Well, it's the monolithic dome. So if you go to monolithic.com.
Monolithic.com?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And my website's GLDC. My company's Great Lakes Dome Company. GLDC.ca.
So if somebody puts in Great Lakes Dome Company, they'll come across you, right?
Yeah. Even if it's a monolithic dome, it'll pop up. But
yeah,
they call it a paradigm shift, right? So just like the discussions we're having here, I mean, we need to see a paradigm shift in the way we govern ourselves. And so I saw the light year. I grew up in conventional construction. My dad's a carpenter himself, and I worked in the Toronto area for the production housing companies. I saw the waste.
Isn't that disgusting?
It is. It was, some of the stories. I mean, we'd have whole lifts, like an entire lift of 2x4s, and just get dropped in the mud
I know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I was the guy that ended up throwing this stuff in the dumpster when I was, when I started out as a laborer and whatnot. And I couldn't even. I think, hey, how about we take a garage from spec house, and I'll just toss all this extra material, and they're like, no, that takes too much time. We can't slow this machine down here. We got just throw it in the dumpster, get it out of here, it's in our way here. Right?
Well, yeah. When I did this house, I basically tore it down and rebuilt it, and my wife's going like, "Where's all the waste? There's a little pile of scrap, right?"
Yeah.
And I know what you're talking about. That's what should be waste. There's very little.
That's right.
And but she said when you drive by construction sites and that, like, there's trailers full of material just being thrown away. Well, yeah, because nobody designed it right and nobody gives a damn, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. So if we put a bit more effort into, and again, I've gone into this zone business because for me, the answer was doing the opposite, and this information came across my desk, so to speak, and I did some research into it, and it was just made sense. I mean, they're concrete structures.
I just figured out what your problem is, Mac.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
You think?
Well, I'm glad you have.
No, you think.
Yeah, well, exactly. Exactly. Yes, the whole concept of critical thinking. Imagine that, eh? Everybody.
Well, always looking for a better way to do things, right? People say this is the way we've always done it, so this is the way we're doing it. Well, what kind of concept is that, right? But you're trying to put up a dome structure, and I don't know how big it is or anything, but can you imagine? I remember my dad telling me when he was still with us that when he was young, when they go to do a barn raising and that, right? So they cut their timbers and they peg them together. There's no nails in the damn things, wooden peg together, right? And they're going to raise the front and the back of it and then tie it together. Can you imagine trying to get a permit for that today?
Yeah.
I mean, those barns are still standing.
Yeah.
And they'd never get a permit for it. I was talking to a building inspector one time, and I said, if I tried to build a balloon frame house now, I'd never get a permit. And they're going, what's that?
And it's an excellent way to build. Yeah.
Yeah, and I said, see, you have no clue. Right?
Yeah.
And they're always worried about...
This is the position I'm in here right now, is that I've been here 2 weeks longer than I should have been. Because, and this again brings us back to this Agenda 21 issue, because, here I am, like I said, I issued the structural drawings 80 days ago, told, come on out, we're ready to go, a couple more days and we'll have the permit. Well, they ended up dealing with a new building inspector. Like I said, it's a rural area, and what the deal is and the plan is with the rural areas. And, So I'm looking at it like these are just stall tactics, because this guy, he's the development officer. I mean, even the term officer, like, come on, people, that's a military term.
Right.
I mean, he's come out here. He's been tasked with to govern over the newly amalgamated regions of this area, and here I am showing up with a set of drawings for a second residence on a parcel of land in a rural setting.
Well,
not only is it a second residence, it's not how we build things.
Well,
this guy's just pulling his hair out, because he's like, I've been told by by the overarching authorities that are above me that I can't just let stuff like this go down. So I've been telling everybody around here, like, come on, people, pay more attention, look into Agenda 21. Sustainable development isn't the fancy buzzword that you think it means. It sounds wonderful until you
can't get your engineer to sign off on this, eh?
Well, that's the
like,
thing.
I did some work in Florida after a hurricane one time, and the guy wanted to put an 8-foot overhang, and I said, man, that's pushing. We built it all out of steel and everything, right? But the inspectors come along and said, you can't do that, right? And the owner is saying, well, that's what I want. And they said, well, I said, what's the big deal? I said, this is solid as a rock. He said, well, it's wind lift, right? And it was our problem here where we have snow load here. And but see, it's all about liability, right? Like you're saying. So he doesn't want to he doesn't want to pass it because he doesn't know what we're building, one, and doesn't understand the structure of what we're put together. So he doesn't want to go there. So like what I told the owner, I says, you know, we can build this. It ain't going. I mean, if this thing moves, then there's no building here anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I did. I said, you know, if you got, I'll make some calls, and I found an engineer who come down, and he said, I ain't going anywhere, and it cost us like $350 for him to stamp it, and so when the building inspector come back, like we just continued building, and he came back, and I just showed him the engineer's stamp, which means he's off the liability list, right? And then he don't give a shit what we build, as long as he's not, his name's not on it, and he's not going to be liable for it, right? He doesn't know anything about structure. He doesn't know anything about building. He just doesn't want his butt in the ringer. So I don't know if you can hook up an engineer, because that tends to shut these guys up pretty quick.
Well, and you're right. And in the past, it has. I mean, we get customers asking us, you know, how do building departments handle this stuff? And in the past, it's been, well, it's a walk in the park, because I just issue a set of sealed structural drawings, and if they're interested, they'll check them out and maybe come out and see what's going on. But otherwise, it's none of their responsibility. It's none of their business, because we're paying somebody to take on the liability. I mean, you know, a fraction of the fee is the actual work involved in producing the structural drawings. I mean, we're paying them for the liability.
Right.
You know, we're paying for their insurance. But now, again, and I have to chalk it up as extending this agenda deeper into society, because they're just not accepting this engineer's assumption of liability anymore. They're just wanting to put further.
Well, what they don't like, I don't know where. Are you in a town or out in the countryside, or where you at?
It's out in the country. And
see, the other thing they don't want is anybody building anything in the country, right? They want you off the land, period, and into the towns and the cities, right?
So it would seem, for that very reason, that they're just making things difficult. They're drawing it out. That they're drawing the time frame out here. They're stretching it out as far. I think this guy's hoping that I'm just going to throw my arms up and say.
Well, that's what they're hoping for. That's exactly what they're hoping for. They're all getting their paychecks, right? Regardless if you build this or not. Your customer on delays, and that's costing him money. It's obviously, if you're 2 weeks behind schedule already, it's costing you time. You haven't even started this project yet, and they're absolutely hoping that you just say, you know what, I'm out of here. They did it. A gentleman bought a house down the street here from Kitchener, and he wanted to build a garage, and his buddy came up from Kitchener to build a garage. And there's enough lumber in that garage to build a big house. Man, I've never seen nothing like this before. The collar ties are 2x10s, right? It's just there's more lumber. It's just ridiculous, right? And this guy, when he's done, he said, I ain't never coming here again. I mean, this is nuts. These building inspectors are crazy. They don't know anything about building. But if you want to keep moving forward, you got to keep doing what they say. The other option is to go to court. Now I did, I used to be really busy and I have different crews in that, and we had a building, a commercial building where the roof was leaking, and the deal was the town wanted more rental properties. So it had a 1-story flat roof and a 2-story beside it, with apartments, up above with a flat roof, but the lower roof was leaking. And I said, well, why don't we build up on this, and we can get 3 more apartments in here, which will give you equity in the building, offset your cost, and so on and so forth. And they went, yeah, let's do that, right? So I went to the council, and I says, here's the prints, and we got to get a go on this because the place is leaking. So I just need, this is not difficult. Okay, there's the drawings. You say you want rental, and let's go. Well, this could take 6 months. Why could this take 6 months? Our forefathers would have froze to death if they took 6 months. Right? So we ended up, so I said, never mind. I'll just put a gable roof on it and we'll dress up the building and look a lot better and modernize it. So I was in a hurry, so I just gave him a rough sketch of the trusses. I mean, they're trusses, they're engineered trusses, right? This is how long they are, this is what they're made out of. Have a good day, right? So I said, I'm busy. There's what I'm bringing in, and I'll come back to get the permit when the trusses show up. So, okay, no problem. So we're really busy, and I thought, gee, the truck rolls in. I'm thinking, shit, I forgot to get the permit. So I tell the guys, get this prepped up there and start hauling the trusses up. I'll go get the permit. I go get the permit. The one who was assistant then, who is now the building inspector, doesn't have a clue about anything. Then doesn't now. I said, I'm here for my permit. And the building inspector was back from holidays. He goes, what permit? I said, I dropped the drawings off to her, told her to have that permit ready when I rolled in here. And where is it? And so then they start giving me a really hard time. She takes off, and then we get in an argument. Yeah. You know, you've been in these before, right? Where you stand up and kind of get going at them and sit down, and they stand up and get going at this ridiculous nonsense. And so I said, look at it. I don't really care. I got a client who that I have made an agreement with that we're putting this roof up here. Okay, these are engineered trusses, so there's no problem. So bite me, right? Yeah. Either write the permit or don't write the permit. But by the end of the day, those trusses are going to be up. The plywood's going to be on. And it's going to be shingled by the end of the day. So deal with it. Well, if you do that, then I'll red flag your job site. Yeah. Well, you go right ahead. What does that mean? Yeah, go ahead. He's up, put a stop worker order. I said, plaster the place, right? Yeah. I want every inch of that building covered with a stop work order. Yeah. Well, if you don't stop when I tell you to stop, then you're going to end up in court. I said, that's even better, right? Yeah. You go ahead and book the court date because I can't wait to get there.
Yeah, let's lay the cards on the table here.
And he's going, what?
Yeah.
And exactly. Then he says to me, do you smoke? So I said, yeah. I said, well, let's go downstairs and have a smoke. So we're sitting on the park bench looking at each other, right? And he said, is there anything I can say to you to stop you? No, because you're wrong. Yeah. And I have an obligation to my client, okay? Yeah. And I ain't got time to put up with your Mickey Mouse shit as you justify your existence. Yeah. So finally he says, why don't we go get the permit then?
Yeah. That sounds like a great idea. Yeah.
You just get the cards on the table and you don't back up. Once you start negotiating with these idiots, it can last forever.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, and this is one of the main reasons. I mean, I came across your program a month ago. I told you I heard your conversation with the Ontario Ombudsman there, and I was very pleased. And I do want to say I really appreciate the fact that you've come on the scene and you provided this venue for people to have these sort of discussions. But the main reason why I fully engage at this particular point in the conversation is that I do have a friend, another contractor in the same area as myself, that has just been, him and his family have just been through, literally through hell and back with their local municipality, and he's a contractor. He's a very upstanding guy in general. He's been trying to build this house. Turns out they got a psychopathic neighbor that just, unfortunately, that just doesn't matter.
Mac?
Yeah.
I don't mean to butt in on you. I got another contractor on the line here, I think, wants to come in on this conversation.
I imagine.
Which I'm really enjoying, by the way, because I was going to talk about election today, which really doesn't interest me that much. But I'm going to bring. We still got you.
Do I have to leave the call?
No. But I thought I brought Chris into this conversation. But
Well, the plan was for this friend of mine to call in, and if he found himself available and discuss his situation, it's really escalated.
What happened to him exactly?
Well, it's been a number of years ongoing, but just recently, he's got a few kids and he's built himself a house. He's trying to get his decks on. He already paid $6,000 in permit fees when he went to build the house, and now mainly for safety reasons, he's wanting to get these decks on his property. He's got one second story entrance that he needs deal with, and of course he just went ahead. He's an old man. He's a contractor. He knows how to build himself a deck. He doesn't need a building inspector to But then this psychopathic neighbor stepped in and said, this guy's just got issue with absolutely everything that goes on in this town, and later on we can maybe get into the psychology of some people, but the building inspector showed up because the way the system works, if you get a complaint, well, you got to act on that complaint. So the building inspector showed up and it just tried to put a stop work order on this particular project, slapped a notice on the door. They want they've issued a permit, additional permit fee. I think it was $1,600 they wanted again on top of his original permit fee. This gentleman has gone. He confronted the staff at the municipal office with camera in hand, because it's been, like I said, years of just constant interrogation, and a lot of dollars out of his pocket to try to make it go away. And and he was met with, as expected, with some serious resistance. He called him out. He's got the clerk doubling his arbitrarily doubling his permit fee on camera. He's got they're sort of getting belligerent. They're just he's just still fearing them, and they're reacting on that fear because they know they know what they're up to. They know.
This is a problem. They know exactly what they're up to. Every town that has a municipal government, and it's not government. That's the kicker. There's nothing governmental about a municipal government, and that includes your city governments, because they're also municipal governments. These are businesses. Okay.
Yes.
The federal government does not recognize municipal government as government. They recognize it as a business. It's a creation of the province. It's an extension of the province. It is not a government. So they're deceiving you right out of the bat. And every CAO is trained specifically, and the CAOs are the ones that set the agenda for the councils. The CAOs are specifically trained on how to implement Agenda 21.
That's right.
Okay,
yeah.
So all of this nonsense that's coming down on the contractors is not coming from people who understand how to build something.
No.
Right? It is about how to shut it down and how to drive people out of business. And how to increase the cost all the way around. And all of these fees are nothing but feeding the animal that's eating you. Right?
Yeah.
And we got to stop feeding them, and we got to get in their face. So I'm really happy that your friend went in and confronted them. People, and I've said this for years. A lot of really good researchers I've known over the years have just thrown their hands up and said, I've tried for 10 years to wake people up. They don't get it. They don't want to get it. They're throwing rocks at me. All I'm doing is telling them the damn truth. But I told those researchers, don't get disparaged, because once people, it's easy for people to turn a blind eye to somebody else's problem, but once it hits home, and I said, as this Agenda 21 creeps on us here, more and more people are going to be negatively affected to the point where they can't turn a blind eye anymore, and we're there now. We're there.
For a few years I've been saying things will just have to get a little bit worse, and then eventually time will come where even the people that have been subdued by the propaganda are gonna snap out of their hypnosis and say, okay, now
they're being robbed, eh?
Yeah.
And they're finding their disposable income doesn't exist anymore, and too many people have found themselves living going and keep some food on the table. And they go, what happened to my middle class lifestyle?
Yeah.
We're
And
dead.
and that's the crux of the issue there as well. And I think if people would drop the facade and open up this discussion with their neighbors and say, hey, you know, I don't know about you, but you know, I'm having a tough time paying my property taxes. I mean, you know, some people are just too embarrassed to mention it, but I know that you start talking to people, especially of a certain age group, where, you know, like people my age with young kids, they're all in the same boat. It doesn't matter how much income is coming in. You got double income. I mean, everybody has to have a double income family to survive. And but we're all putting on this facade. You know, we got these, you know, decent looking houses. We got 2 cars in the driveway, and you know, a few toys hanging around. But you know, very few of us are willing to exercise enough humility to say, you know what, I'm curious. How are you managing to pay your mortgage, cover your day-to-day expenses, keep the maintenance up on your house, and have 2 vehicles in the driveway? Because I can't freaking do it.
Well, all they're doing is paying bills, right?
That's right.
So, you know, most of the people don't own their vehicles. They're just paying monthly fees on them. They don't own their houses. They're just paying monthly fees on them. So you really don't own jack. You're just working like a dog and feeding it out as fast as you can bring it in.
Yeah, that's right. And and even the concept of ownership is an illusion too. And, you know, people have a hard time wrapping their heads on that.
Well, my municipality, I'm working with them right now. I've had an ongoing fight over taxes and that for a long, long time, and it's getting quite humorous now because they got nowhere left to walk to, right? They try the runarounds and all that kind of stuff, and when you know what you're talking about, and I do believe an awful lot of these, I call them pencil neck. But I do believe an awful lot of them don't even have a clue. You tell them something, they look at you with a blank stare. What the hell are you talking about? Because, you know, as I've said forever, you know, people all came through a public education system, and they were told things that weren't necessarily true.
That's right.
Right? So they just accepted what they were being told was true. So that when you discover what is true and you try to tell these people that came through that system the reality of what's going on, they really don't have the capacity to even understand what the hell you're talking about. But that's changing. That's really changing quickly, because as people, like I said, get pushed against the wall, now they're forced to go look for answers, because now they're forced to ask questions. And once you have to ask a question, you really need to go find the answer.
Yeah, what's going on?
So that's getting better. But just how ridiculous. I did this last night on the show on Revolution Radio. Just how ridiculous this is. The EU's 28 countries consisting of whatever it is, or a little under two I can't remember the exact numbers, but anyways, considerably smaller than Canada. Like 3 times smaller than Canada, the landmass that it takes up, these 28 countries. It has a population of 506 million people. Okay?
Right.
Canada has a population of 34 million people.
Yeah.
Why is anybody homeless? Why is anybody struggling here? Okay?
Yeah.
Why can't I go build something where I want to build it?
Yeah,
because the agenda being humped on us is coming from overseas. Yeah, and telling us that we're out of water and out of resources. Give me a break. Yeah, like I said last night, we could build every man, woman, and child, or every family, a home. You know, a home in this country for free, and not even put a dent in the bush resources that we have here, or the metal resources we have here. And everyone can have a home free and clear. Because we have less than population. I mean, Britain fits into Ontario 4 frickin' times. That's a minimum 250 million people living in the same landmass as Ontario. And you telling me with 15 million people, we have a tenth of the world's water resource? Are you telling me we got a water problem?
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
a
20%
resource
of the world's
problem.
fresh water.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where the critical thinking has to come into play and say, last time I was up in a plane, traveling from one province to the next, I looked down and I saw a heck of a lot of empty land. And, and you look at the expansiveness of this country, we all know how rich in resources it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then ask yourself, you know what, I was born onto this land.
Mm-hmm.
How come I don't have access to the resources of this land?
Because it's not a country, right? It's a corporation.
Right. Exactly, that's right.
So the corporation controls all the resources. They control everything. And apparently, when you were born, you somehow gave allegiance to the Queen, the Crown, and the Pope. I don't recall doing that, but the act of you being born here puts you as a subject / subservient, which is a slave. The corporation. So you were born as a corporate asset.
Yeah.
Is what you are.
And without full disclosure, which of course nullifies it because there's no full disclosure. It's fraudulent. But we all need to again, you do a little bit of research. You just keep asking questions.
That's the whole ticket. You ask a question, it leads you to go find an answer, which leads you to the next question, leads you to the next answer. Pretty soon you go, damn.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyways, Mac, I'm gonna bring who I got two callers here. Who's the other caller? Where's 130? 15.
Not sure. My buddy would be a 519 area code.
I don't know who this is. I'm going to add this one into the call, anyways. This is. I'm having fun here today.
Yeah, this is a good conversation.
Hello?
Yeah, who am I talking to?
This is Mike out of Maryland, but my nickname in the chat room is Meat Dog.
Meat Dog.
Yes, sir.
And how you doing? How's Maryland keeping you?
Well, it's we call it the People's Republic of Maryland because it's especially Montgomery County where I live, because it's about as left wing as it can get, and so my hobby used to be collecting AK-47s, but since they passed the draconian law here about a year or so ago, I can't do that anymore. So because of the Sandy Hook hoax, but so it's reasonably prosperous here, but because of the proximity, I guess, at least partially to Washington D.C. But it's I have a so-so job. I get by, but I'm thinking about moving back to Virginia, my home state. Though I may do that in the near future.
I got a better idea, Meat Dog.
What's that?
Why don't you and your friends hook up with Mac and come up and stand security over Mac's construction site?
Yeah.
And keep those guys away from his site so he can do what he's supposed to do. That's build that structure.
Sounds like you're well equipped for the task.
Yeah. Maybe we could do something like that. But Virginia, I've talked to people from Virginia before. It seems like a nice state. Have I still got Meat Dog there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm on speakerphone. Am I sounding okay, or do you want me to
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay. It's easier for me to listen to that way.
Yeah. So anyways, what I'm going to do here, Chris has been calling Mac, and he's a contractor too from Ontario. And he's called in a few times. He's probably ready to kick me in the head right about now. I'm going to drag him in here. Actually, I was supposed to go down and work with him for a couple of weeks, but I'm not going to get there.
Well, I kind of wanted to ask a question, if I may.
Yes, please do.
Well, yeah, no, it's a very good show here. It's very, interesting and enlightening. And, it's funny, because I was going to call in earlier about Agenda 21 before y'all started talking about it. And I understand the frustration of trying to make people aware of what's going on. And, because we're being attacked on so many sides, from chemtrails, from fluoride in the water, from poison GMO food, to the encroaching police state, galloping police state, I should say. And, but I kind of wanted to ask you maybe about the North American Union. How far along do you think it is? Or do you agree that we're going to merge Canada, U.S., and Mexico? And what do you think the end game is with the North American Union, and how do you think Canada will fare once it's fully implemented? I was just curious about your take on that.
Well, the North American Union, for all intents and purposes, is already taken place. You got to understand that America and Canada and all the other countries are states of the United Nations. Okay, that's what they're classed as. When we signed on to the United Nations after the Second World War, we became states of the United Nations. Now that's where all the international law is coming from. Actually, in Virginia, I think it's Virginia. Yes, it is. I believe it is Virginia. I had a lady on here talking about windmills one day, and somebody was giving me a hard time over on Facebook about posting stuff about wind, and I have a long history of that fight. But she was giving me a hard time about stuff, and it turned out that she, the largest the environmental law school in the United States just happens to be in Virginia. Okay, and all of this stuff is being filtered down through the United Nations. So they don't do it. They don't have any clout as in law yet. So when we all became states of the United Nations, what they do is they give us suggestions of what they'd like to see us do, and that's what your government, it doesn't matter if it's right, left, is implementing. So the Agenda 21 is coming. They knew they couldn't just come and jam it at us from the top. So, that's where you get that global to local nonsense.
Quickly.
So what the deal is that every single city manager, CAO, is specifically trained in how to implement Agenda 21 from the local level without telling the people what they're up to. Okay, and what that does is give all of the power to the global to local, giving the power to the global. So, theoretically, whether or not they've signed this North American Union or the TPP or whatever, all of our governments are working for the same end result, and that is the total Sovietization of the West. And that was brought up in the Reese Report in 1958 or whenever it was. I recommend everybody. It was Norman Dodds. Recommend that you watch that because they were trying to figure out, the Reese Commission was all about trying to figure out what these tax-exempt foundations were up to, the Rockefellers, Carnegies, Fords, all them. And, Dodd said they actually had a conversation with one of the guys from the Ford Foundation, and the Ford guy from the Ford Foundations asked them, what's this Reese Commission up to? Well, we were charged to find out what you guys are up to. Well, that's simple. What we're charged with is the Sovietization of America. Now, you being American and from Maryland, I would really recommend on my blog, which is CanadianTruths.wordpress.com, if you push in there's a search bar in there. If you just type in America with a K, now that's a 13-part series that was done in 1987, made for TV movie or series, whatever you call it, and starring Chris Christopher and a whole bunch of other people. And I put one of the first scenes up there, which is Chris Christopherson coming out of or he's in a re-education camp. He'd run as an independent in the American election, and they're taking the oaths of the new flag. And people need to get this, okay? Because all this stuff on TV and then media is predictive programming. But in that particular movie, which was shot which came out in 1987, which is the very same year Our Common Future, which brought us it was a prelude to Agenda 21 or ICLEI, came out. They came out the same year. And what it showed was the Sovietization of America. through regionalization, through unelected boards and committees and so on and so forth. So it's a very pertinent piece. But in that re-education camp, they pulled down the blind or whatever over the chalkboard, and these guys took their allegiance to the new flag. Okay, and the new flag was, when they're looking at the board, is the American flag on the left, the Russian flag on the right, and joining those two flags together was the United Nations flag. Okay, so this idea, I don't spend a lot of time. I know a lot of people spend a lot of time on stuff like TPP and all these different rules and regulations that are bringing in, and the North American Union and that. The fact is, every single member of every single government in all of these countries that signed on to the UN are trying to take us in the same place. And the worst part of it is that, population trust, which is all part of this because it's humans, the animals who are destroying the planet. And a lot of it is about depopulation. That's where you get your vaccines and your poison food and your chemtrails and all that kind of stuff. So I was looking at their documents. They have that data on another computer, but they've changed their site around a little bit. I had kind of a head-on with them there a long time ago. But they are what is sustainable? First of all, private homes are not sustainable. That was made very clear in the 76 conference on human settlements that was held in Vancouver.
Well, I always get the two states confused.
But the deal is, people are running around going, holy crap, what are they doing? What are they doing? The recommended population for America is 100 million. That's 2/3 of your population, gone. The recommended population for Britain, which is sitting around 65 million now, is they brought it down to 32 million would be a sustainable population, but they said to be on the safe side, it should come down to 28, 24 million. So this is the big game, okay?
Yeah.
This is the big game. So,
yeah, and it's all weighed against false science, and that's that's the crux of the issue is that they're basing this on what do they call it, anthropogenic global warming.
If you trust the scientists, you better give your head a shake. The scientists were put forward as the new priests, and that you're not supposed to disagree with what a priest said in the old days was what do you call it, heresy or blasphemy or whatever. And it's the same thing. All they've done is move the scientists in to take over the role of the priest, and you don't question the priest and you don't question the scientist. And you best start questioning the scientists because they're full of beans.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, scientists can be paid off, and professors that promulgate the Agenda 21 and the global warming hoax, they can be some of the biggest whores in the world.
Well, yeah, because they those guys, you see, the tax-exempt foundations are the guys who put a big pool of money together, which never gets touched, so they don't pay taxes on it. Then they gift that money out to people who write papers to push their agenda. And again, there's no taxes paid on that because they gift it out to these NGOs and that. The NGOs, the word goes out what they need papers written on, what subjects and what they need to say, and then these guys get paid to write them. Okay, then that ends up in the paper, and then the government says, oh, well, this is what the people want. Problem, reaction, solution, bang. Yeah. And this is how they get to play their game. And the guys who set up the UN are the same guys that run these tax-exempt foundations.
That's right.
Well, I get the two states confused. It's either Washington or Oregon, but one of them, or maybe both, are in the process, or at least legislatively, are trying to ban single-family dwellings. And so ultimately they want to move us into these stack and pack cities. And how do you think they're going to achieve it? By bayonet point or by a global economic collapse?
No. It's by economic pressure. Like I said when I ran for mayor a long time ago, and I told the mayor, I said, you know exactly what this game is, okay? And a lot of people still think I won the election, but I don't want to say they fix elections, but still a lot of people around here say I won the election, and we had a big vote count problem and shit, and the incumbent got back in. And but before the election, I went through all this stuff with them, and I said they're not going to come and jackboot our doors down. That won't fly here. Might fly in Croatia or somewhere like that, but it ain't going to fly here. So they're just going to grind you, okay, with ever increasing taxes, water bills, heat bills, and so on and so forth, until the people can't afford to live in their own homes. Now, the UN says, the adequate, because everyone has, all humanity, humans, not men and women, but humans, which are animals, have the right to adequate housing, clothing, food, water. But you see, these guys are the guys who decide what's adequate. They can ratchet that down and down and down, which is the plan. So what's
the movie Hunger Games?
Well, yeah, well, exactly. I mean, it's all predictive programming. So the documents that we came across was that the adequate housing for a man, woman, whatever, is of approximately 350 square feet. So if you have a 1,400 square foot house and you and your wife live in it, obviously you have twice as much space as is adequate. So you will be given a choice of paying a inadequate tax or whatever to keep your home, or the option to split it into split your home. You still own the home, but you only get to use half of it because you have too much space, and you will rent the other half out. This is all about the high density. The whole plan is they're not going to come in and jackboot you out. They're just going to run you out because you can't afford to be there anymore. And
they'll just tax you out of your house, in other words.
Pardon me?
They'll just tax you out of your house, in other words.
Tax water bills and so on and so forth. Yeah. This is a well-constructed plan they have, and we have to put a stop to it, which means because it's all being implemented at the local level, okay, because they can't come down from the top because people would say, bite me. So what they do is they call it, community standards and community planning, and, you got to care about your community, right? So it's all being implemented at the local level. So the stop point is the local level. The place to stop this is at your municipal or your local government level. These are the guys who are implementing this, city by city, town by town, and they're all doing it the same way. They're all putting in these bike paths. We all have to plant trees. We all have to look out for our watershed. All this stuff they can sell people because it feels good, right? But what people don't understand, because they're not told, is they're not going to be living in their homes anymore. Okay, you're classed as an animal. They're building a zoo. Okay, and you're going in the zoo.
That's right.
And just like a tiger or a monkey or something in a zoo, it gets to have an adequate amount of space. That's exactly what they're building you, your adequate space for you humans who are hurting the animals and have to be separated from the rest of nature. You can't go to the rest of the nature because you obviously harm it. Therefore, we're building you a zoo along the railway tracks, and that's where you're going to live. Now, if that's what people want, fill your boots. I ain't going there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And through the false science, they play into the conscience of the moral conscience of the average person who when they tell people that we are the cause of this through carbon emissions and what have you, we are the cause of this.
Right. And
our first reaction, of course, is like, well, maybe you're right, and bike paths do sound like a great idea, and maybe all these ideas. Yeah, and of course, but the science is completely false, and it's trapped.
These people, I call them sociopathic psychopaths. They're like Ted Bundy, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
They gain your confidence. Okay, I guess Ted Bundy was a very personable guy.
Sure.
He could get people's confidence, and then do them in, and that's exactly what the United Nations is doing. It's exactly what your local government is doing. Okay, this is sociopathic psychopaths whose aim is to harm you. Well, they're playing this game of we love you and we're doing all of this for you, and you will help us do it. We got to get by that, folks. We really got to get by.
And understanding the psychology, I think that's really a good place to start for a lot of people. Is when you start questioning what kind of people we have in government exercising this authority over us and making these decisions that just seem so draconian and downright criminal. Where is their mindset? And so when you ask yourself that, well, wouldn't the next logical step be to investigate, how the mind works? What is psychopathy? And only a little bit of research takes you right into the mind of a psychopath, and it's not the traditional. For a lot of people, you say the term psychopath or sociopath, and they think of somebody wielding a knife and in a back alley somewhere. And it couldn't be further from the truth. It's the people who work their way up the corporate ladder through ruthless actions. Because they simply have no ability to empathize. They have no empathy.
That line out of that old John Lennon song, who was another guy that was completely hoodwinked. I mean, he was used as a tool for no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But that one line in one of, I think it was, something hero, working man hero, I think it was, where there's a line in there that says that, they tell you there's still room on the hill if you're willing to smile as you kill. And that's dead on. That's dead on.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had offers in the past, right? I could have had a very good political career. But as I told one of the handlers for the Progressive Conservatives when I ran in 2007, and I was offered to go to Progressive Conservatives, and I said, I can't be a politician. He said, you'd be a great politician. You have a great career in politics. I said, but you don't understand. I do not have the ability to stand and lie to somebody while I'm smiling at them. I can't do it.
That's right. That's right.
And he's going, well, I get your point. But if you ever change your mind, and there's a lot of weak people that don't have any moral backing that would jump at that offer.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what we end up with, right? So, don't look to your politicians to fix this because they don't have the capacity to fix it, and they ain't working for you anyways. America's a corporation, Canada's a corporation. These are corporation minions, and they're global corporation minions. So you're not going to get any relief from these people. So, as I say, you got to get your people at the local level, and you don't need AK-47s. They want you firing them damn things off. They're begging you to start shooting them. That's one of their plays. Can we cause enough chaos and harm to these people, and that they be confused enough to just start shooting at each other? But you're not shooting. You would only be shooting at people that don't matter anyways. Okay, you're not going to be shooting at Rockefeller or Morris Strong or Rothschild. Or anything. You're going to be shooting at your local neighbor, who may be a cop or a building inspector or whatever, right? And they're just going to sit in their towers and laugh at us because we're doing exactly what they want. So one of the ways to win is do not do what they want, do the opposite of what they want. Okay, and through psychology and knowledge, we win. They can't beat us that way, right?
I'm just curious. Have you guys ever heard of the website Forum for the Future?
Nope.
Okay, it's pretty enlightening. They had some videos. Most of them were scrubbed, but if you look on YouTube, you can find it. Basically, it shows what they got planned for us. But if you go to the Forum for the Future, you can go to YouTube. It's called Plandopolis. I have it on here. Do you want me to play part of it for you?
No, I can't. I can't do that right now. But just shout out the name of the video, and people can go look it up.
Okay, it's called 4 Visions of the City Life in 2040, Plandopolis, but it's from the website Forum for the Future. Now, they scrub these videos from their official website because it's just probably, it just let the cat out of the bag too much. But it's Forum for the Future is their official website. But if you go to YouTube, go 4 Visions of City Life in 2040, Plandopolis. And it's really kind of hair-raising, kind of scary because it shows people living in, even the echelons of society where you have the technocratic elite and middle-class, upper-middle-class lifestyle, and like 95% of the rest of the people.
Well, yeah. I mean, this sounds like a remake of Metropolis. It was made in 28 or something, right? Okay,
Yeah.
I mean they keep coming. I mean if you want to really understand Agenda 21, look no further than Soylent Green.
Yeah.
No, that's
You know,
absolutely true.
and Meat Dog. Here's a video that I cut it a little bit, just to shorten it up a bit, but I have the full length one there too. I think I knocked 20 minutes out of it or something. But the video, Survival of Spaceship Earth, which actually puts in Holdren's in it, or he was a writer in it. David Rockefeller, Morris Strong, a whole gaggle of people. And this movie came out just prior to the 1972 Conference on Human Environment in Stockholm, which brought us all the way up to 92 and 2002 with Rio and Rio plus 20. If you want to see exactly what their plan is, watch Survival of Spaceship Earth. Very few people have seen this thing. Very few people, and everybody needs to watch this and understand exactly what they're looking at, and who these guys are. And these guys should have been put away a long, long time ago. They are hell on earth, man. And how they managed to well, I know how they managed to stay out of jail because they're working for the big boys. But again, that's on my blog. But there's several movies like Soylent Green. If you understand what you're watching, the movie you mentioned, Metropolis, especially the one with the other soundtrack in it. I forgot the name of the band. And there's another movie which really portrays these they're almost like dome cities, which was called Logan's Run. Okay, when they get out of that place and finally get back out and realize that they've been hoodwinked and there's all this empty nature out there, they should have been enjoying their lives. Instead, they're living in these lockdown cities where vehicles pick you up and take you here and there and everything else. I mean, it's amazing. So they always write everything down. They always tell you what they're doing.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's one thing we do know about them. I've been through tens of thousands of pages of their documents, and they're not shy about what they're up to. But the average person doesn't it takes a lot of effort to go through all this stuff. It's miserable stuff to read because it's written in such a fashion that you get into it a few pages and you go, what is this garbage? And you quit reading.
Yeah.
And it's written that on purpose so that you won't read it.
That's when the fear kicks in too for a lot of people, right? They get partway in and they start realizing the implications. If this information is true, and then I think what's the term? Cognitive dissonance, I think is what the term is. They just, their brains just shut right off. They just like, oh, this can't be real. This is so psychopathic that this is just propaganda.
You might get this one, Meat Dog. When I was in grade 9, which is a hell of a long time ago, because I'm 912 years old now, but we had a gun range in the basement of my school in Canada, and we were encouraged to be good shots. None of the guns were ever locked up. None of the ammunition was ever locked up. We had two tiers of beds there with our targets and that, and we were encouraged to go down and shoot. So that was in, say, 1968. Fast forward to 2015. And my local high school has a cop, and it's a little town of 7,000 people in Canada, which has a cop on duty at the school every day that school's in. And the kids can't play baseball because they're not allowed to have a bat at the school because a bat has now been classified as a weapon. That's where we've come to from 68 to now.
Oh, by the way, I thought I mentioned I dropped in the Planopolis video in the chat room for anybody.
Oh, okay. That's fantastic. I can pick it up there and look at it.
And I'll also, right in a minute or so, drop in the link for Forum for the Future. Now, I think those videos were scrubbed from the website, but if you have to hunt
can
around,
find them. You'll find them on YouTube for sure.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
So, but what I can't stress enough is the power is at the local level. Our power rests at the local level because that's where your feet are. Okay?
Right.
You can't do anything from Maryland about Greece or Croatia or the Ukraine. You can't do it. You can discuss it, but you can't do nothing about it. So it's not worth discussing. You need to use all of your efforts and focus your attention and your resolution and your time at the local level. And just like cockroaches who don't like light shone on them, you got to shine the light down at your local level. You have to inform the people at your local level what the hell's going on. You have to explain to them why their taxes are going up, why their hydro bills are going up, and so on and so forth. Once you can do that with them, then you start shining the light on the people implementing ICLEI or Agenda 21, whatever you want to call it, and that these people are doing the bidding of an outside agency who is bound and determined to destroy your nation and the people in it. You don't need to be shooting at people to get this done, right? They will run.
I think it's also important to realize and recognize that a lot of these local, regional councillors and whatnot really don't have a clue. It's not they're not necessarily privy to the agenda.
No. They are well trained not to. Well, they're also trained. They are also trained because we've been through AMO and Federation of Municipalities and that. They're perfectly trained that if somebody approaches them and explains to them what's going on, that they are immediately to classify you as a conspiracy theorist or a troublemaker or something like this. But you got to stay on them. Right? You really have to stay on them. And you don't have to yell at them. You just have to know that they're a hell of a lot brighter than they are. And we do have a responsibility to get knowledge to those who are ignorant.
That's right. Yeah.
It's our responsibility. Your politicians aren't going to turn this around for you. If you want a country and you want your people to be healthy and properly looked after and have a future for the children, then it's our responsibility only. And you know, when you see your reflection in the mirror, you're the guy that's responsible. You're it.
Maybe I'm a glutton for punishment, but I can't resist watching apocalyptic or post-apocalyptic movies. And of course, Soylent Green is probably the classic one. Rollerball, although there are some boring scenes in it. But one to watch. It was on YouTube, but it was scrubbed. It's called ZPG. It stands for Zero Population Growth. And
well, that is it. That is population. That is the whole plan. If you watch, and it's on my blog, CanadianTruths.wordpress.com, and you just put in survival of spaceship Earth. Okay, right out of the gates, Rockefeller's sitting there yammering on about some paperwork, yammering on about Nixon, and yammering on about population. It's population that's the problem. Okay, if we can cut the population way down, or as Mikhail Gorbachev said, if we get rid of 95% of the population, then we weren't going to have an environmental problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was about the environment. It's about having a very elite group of people, and as you said, Meat Dog, which is exactly the message in Metropolis, is that this small group of people have everything, and then this group of basic slaves make sure the equipment in that keeps running, so that these people can enjoy their life. Sure.
Another good movie is Take Shelter, and which is a relatively recent movie, and kind of like a psychological kind of post-apocalyptic kind of movie. Really good.
Yeah.
And
if you understand what you're watching, it's okay, right? But we can go into movies years ago, and I tossed the TV years ago because I ain't got time for that crap. But people go to the movies thinking you see, if you go to a movie, Meat Dog, you know, you seem to understand what you're exactly watching, but most people think they're going there to be entertained. Me and my wife would go to a movie, and these people are all into these movies, and we're looking at this stuff, and we're going, holy crap. But nobody in the audience seems to get what they're watching. They're just being entertained. Okay? And well, it's psychology through osmosis, really, is what it is, right? because people think they're being entertained, but they're actually being programmed. And you say, well, that's what's coming. Oh, that's just a movie. What are you talking about?
Yeah, right.
But if you go back and you watch America from 1987, that is so in your face. It is ridiculous. It's a long haul. I mean, most people, if they're good researchers, they know how these things are put together. You can pop through it fairly quick and hit the important scenes, right? But it's all about regionalization. It's all about feminization of the boys. It's all about the veterans being basically thrown aside, no respect. And if you're in the States, the veterans the government has no respect for the veterans. And it's all about the Sovietism is all about this regionalization and boards and all this committees and all that kind of stuff. It's really worth watching. Now I got to do this because he's going to come and beat me up. I know it. Well, he won't. He's 7 hours away. But I got to get Chris in here for the last couple of minutes because he's been trying to get in. I tried to bring him in a couple of times, and for some reason it didn't hook in. So I'm going to try him one more time and see if we. I don't know why I can't get him in here. Hey, Chris, if you're listening, which I know you are, don't get too perturbed because I am trying for some reason. It's not letting me bring you in. And I don't know why, and I don't want to...
Does the board only support so many callers?
No, we've had tons of them before, but I don't know why it's not letting him in. Let me try it this way. Okay, maybe we can pull him in. Okay, we got him now. That was a lot of work. You owe me some money, Chris.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, you there? Christopher? I still don't have him. It says he's in, but I still don't got him. Anyways, I don't know what the problem is there. Anyways, I enjoyed the hell out of this 2 hours because, I wasn't really looking forward to talking about elections. I'll do that during the week. But
I prefer to call them selections. Really, that's what it comes down to.
Well, I'm really glad to get construction guy in here, and I don't know why I can't get Chris in. He's a construction guy too. I know he wanted to get in on this conversation, but it took me a long time to get a school teacher on the show. They were scared to death, and I finally got one to come on, and it was great because we had a really good show. And he got back to me a few days later, and he said, I was really scared about doing the show, but now I'm really glad I did it. And he said what he said was he'd made a decision after that he's now decided that he will no longer lie to the children, and that's a big step. And that's the teachers need to do. They need to stop lying to the kids, because as far as I'm concerned, that's a clinical case of child abuse. What's going on in the schools today. And so I had a lawyer on a couple of 3 weeks ago or whatever who's retired who wanted to come on and talk. So, people are starting to come forward. 5 years ago, I couldn't have had conversations with any of those people. It wasn't going to happen. And so, again, as people... I don't know if you guys get this or not, but just in the last 6 months or that, people who didn't want to hear a damn thing I had to say around here, coming up to me now going like, what the hell is going on? Right? Yeah. They can taste something's wrong. Right?
Yeah. And, we're finally seeing that a little bit. I'd like to see more of it, but it definitely happened.
Yeah.
More people are like, again, and for whatever reason in their own particular lives, they're throwing their arms up. Like, it doesn't seem to matter how much effort and energy I put towards trying to succeed in this particular system. It's just not working. So what's going on? Something's got to give here. And so I guess they're just starting to ask questions and starting to strike out conversations with people. And that's what we need to do is continue talking about it until everybody's talking about it.
2015 is a very important year as far as I'm concerned. It's either the year we actually start to push back in earnest or they're going to run over us. And I'm seeing people starting to say, you know, we ain't going to put up with this anymore. And again, it doesn't require violence. There's a hell of a lot more of us than there are of them, and they ain't going to bomb
It never
us.
does.
Well, they
Never
can't.
does.
You know, they can go in and bomb Libya, but they can't bomb us. It doesn't fly, right? It can't fly. They can't come in here and bomb us. You know, they'll pull some false flags in that, but they can't come in and just wholesale bomb the shit out of us. You know, you can't play that out in the media. It just won't fly.
No.
So
No,
their
man.
job was to get us to consent. And again, to meet Dog, you being an American, you know, if you go look up the 1950 Senate hearings with Warburg, whose daddy, I guess it was involved in the creation of the Fed. But what he said in 1950 Senate hearings was that we will have world government by consent or by conquest. What they've done is conned us in through bike paths and planting trees and that to consent. And he also said that, you know, people say, oh, the Iron Curtain came down and the Berlin Wall came down. Well, you know, in the Senate hearings, he also said that we can't get this world government with two opposing superpowers. So that's why the walls came down. Okay. And then they needed a mechanism, he says. We need a mechanism. We need a problem that only a global solution at the global level will work. And so the mechanism they chose was environment. Because they say what you do here affects somebody over there. So only a global solution can be had, and they pass a global solution to have an impact at the local level. It's all really quite simple. We just got to make sure everybody knows about it,
and
so that they can just say no.
It's an ingenious plan. I mean, as you know, it's diabolical as all hell. But I mean, you know,
I certainly can't take away their planning ability. No, I mean, these are highly intelligent people, but they're evil as hell.
Yeah.
So we have that problem.
And the problem is it's so diabolical that you can't get the, and that's what the cognitive dissonance comes in. You strike up a conversation with the average person. You say, you know, well, this is actually what's going on. This is the plan, and they just can't compute that. It's just like because most of us are good people. We maintain a certain moral standard in everything we do, and the thought of some sort of overarching governing body that carries and maintains and enforces this sort of mindset and is implementing a plan of this nature. It's just how can you believe it? It just sounds ridiculous.
You know, this idea that in countries as rich as ours, and the States, and pretty much everywhere else on the planet, that you know, the husband and wife have to work a minimum 40 hours a week apiece in a land this rich. Is a con game, you know, and we got to get back to reality. We got to get back to. I don't even like using the word community anymore because because it's being used a different way. But we got to get back to the local level again, and we got to get control of the local level. Once we have the control of a few local levels, I mean actual control of it. Then you will find that the other towns and cities and that will go, you know, that's what we need to be doing. So you know that in the movie, one of the movies, Pirates of the Caribbean, which my wife got a kick out of the lead actor, whoever he was. You know, there's a scene in there where they're on the ship and they're going, something ain't right here. You know, everything looks like it's there, but it's not right. And then the head actor, I can't remember what his name was, Johnny Depp, I guess, starts running back and forth across the boat, rocking the boat. And then the other guys watch him, and then it dawns on him, we're upside down. Oh, they're in a different realm. It looks right side up, but it's upside down. And they flip the boat back over to get back to reality. And that's exactly our job, because we have been flipped. That's why I keep saying everything's upside down.
It is.
You know, we got to get it flipped back right side up.
That's right.
And you know, a lot of people, you know, it's going to take some work, make no bones about it, but we don't have a choice. You know, you keep laying down, you lose, right?
Right.
And that's consent, you know? Silence is consent.
Yeah. And they use, what is it, tacit consent, right? Tacit consent.
That's right.
they use that against us. They try to tell us that, well, democracy is consented to govern. I mean, it's ultimately you guys are allowing us to exercise, our, ability to create these, these laws and legislation. To, I mean, you're saying it's okay. And which, again, it couldn't be further from the truth, because if you ask any person on the street if they're happy with how things are being handled, you get very few people that will say, yeah, I'm okay with this.
Well, you look at people now. You look at people now, Mac. You look around at the kids. I don't see the kids looking happy. Most people look beaten down, man. You don't see that. You don't see the sparkle in the eye, right?
That's right.
And,
you see somebody coming down the street with a smile on your face. It's like, what's wrong with that guy?
I know. Isn't that wicked? What's that guy happy about?
That guy's on something. Yeah. It's
yeah.
great. And because it is flipped around. Everything is completely upside down and backwards, and that's the honest truth.
Yeah. So we all got to just start running back and forth on this boat and shining the lights and talking to our people and not putting up with too much garbage. And I like what you're doing, and we'll have to stay hooked up here somehow. You got my Facebook thing. We got to stay hooked up.
Yeah.
I want to apologize to Chris. Chris, I ain't avoiding you. I have been trying to drag you into this conversation, and I have no freaking idea why I haven't been able to get you in here, because you would have really enjoyed participating in this. We'll have to try and do it again. Get Mac and maybe his buddy, the other contractor from St. Mary's, to come back on sometime. It's very important that people hear guys like you, because I can talk till I'm blue in the face, but it's other people's experiences with the system that need to be heard. That's where I believe it encourages people, because regardless if it's a lawyer I have on, or a teacher or contractor, these are personal experiences that these people are having, and I know that there's listeners out here who are contractors who are running into the same situation. So this has been very, very positive as far as I'm concerned. And
I agree. I'm glad to have come on the show. I look forward to maintaining this open discussion. I'm very pleased that we have this venue. And like I said, I think I get a lot of people that I talk to say, well, what's the point? Ultimately, what can we do about it? There's nothing we can do about it. You get this attitude a lot. And,
my attitude is this. Okay, if we just look at our own families as who we have a duty to, and each of us look at our own families as who we have a duty to. We have a duty to our forefathers who came over here to get away from the feudal system, which, by the way, the Attorney General's Office of Ontario agrees, after laying the research on them, that we have never left the feudal system. Subject is citizen is interchangeable with subject, and so we have never left the feudal system. Our forefathers tried to leave the feudal system. They believed that they were going to be given land. They were given the right to property, not land. And they came here and they busted this open, okay, trying to give us a better future. So, we owe it to them. We owe it to the children, the grandchildren, and those not born yet, to make sure we leave them something better than Soylent Green.
Yeah.
So, it's not a big deal.
Thanks for taking my call. And I'll hang up now. Great show. Thanks.
I appreciate it, Meat Dog. Anyways, it looks like we're about out of time here, so we're going to call this, and I'm going to get out of here. And you want to come back on, Mac? Grab one of your buddies and figure out why I could
we'll do our best.
So again, thank you. I hear the music. We're out of here pretty quick. I want to thank CYT for giving us time.
Selling lies and buying time, killing people nationwide. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back in 2020. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids. your face.